Okay, so Shavuot has a number, the holiday of Shavuot has a number of different names that are applied to it. It's interesting, what does Shavuot actually mean?
Weeks.
Either weeks or Shavuot also means an oath. So if it's referring to weeks, so what is the idea then?
49 days.
Good, we're counting 49 days, we're counting the 7 weeks until then. But why would the emphasis be on the lead up, on the precursor, as opposed to the day itself?
Because it's connected to Pesach. And it's like a big chunk of time.
Okay. So we could say that, right, we'll see Ramban in a moment about the connection to Pesach. Good. Right? Yes, Dov?
It's the work that we, in effort, so we can count.
Okay. Okay, very often that which we gain from something is fully dependent upon the effort that goes in prior to that, beforehand. Right? Why would, if it means oaths, what is the oaths connection? What is the oaths? It's hard to say fast. The oaths.
The sacrifices?
Those aren't really oaths, right? It's not an oath. Right? So
it's a commitment.
It's a commitment. Right? You know, actually there are halachot that, let's say a person swears, I'm not going to put on tefillin. I'm not going to lay tefillin. And the person then goes and puts on tefillin. Has he breached his oath? No, he hasn't. Why not? He swore he wasn't going to wear tefillin and he put on tefillin. Why is that not a breach of his oath? Because that oath not to wear tefillin never went into effect. Why not? Because he already took an oath that he would wear tefillin. When? I never took such an oath. You did. When? Mount Sinai. There's a concept that the Gemara uses, Mushba v'omeid mehar Sinai. You've got a standing oath already from Har Sinai. So when you swore you're not going to wear tefillin, that oath doesn't go into effect. You already swore that you would. So this is Chag Shavuot.
Does that mean that each of us have an oath that we've taken on
We
Mount
do.
Sinai?
We do. But I wasn't at Sinai. How could I have taken an oath at Sinai?
Or your soul was there.
Right? So we say that collectively we were all at Har Sinai. A Jewish dating shidduch, a website. I don't know if it's still up and running or if it's transformed. His name, Saw You at Sinai. Right? Saw You at Sinai. The idea being that all the Jews were there at Mount Sinai. So I saw you there. We just have to get reacquainted now. And then who knows? Maybe we'll have a good shidduch over here. Okay. The Torah also calls it atzeret. Atzeret is like a gathering in. What other day in the Jewish calendar is referred to as atzeret? Shmini Atzeret. Good. The 8th day of Atzeret, right? It's mistakenly referred to as the 8th day of Sukkot, but it's not. There are 7 days of Sukkot. Sukkot ends, and we go into Shmini Atzeret. Outside of Israel, we have 2 days, so we have Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. What does Shmini Atzeret mean? Shmini, 8th, Atzeret, gathering in. What are we meant to gather in? What are we gathering in over there at that point in our Jewish calendar?
Jewish people.
Okay. But we're gathering in, we've just had Rosh Hashanah. Right? On the 1st and 2nd of Tishrei. And then we had Yom Kippur on the 10th of the month of Tishrei. Then we had Sukkot on the 15th day of Tishrei. Then we had Chol HaMoed, Sukkot, on the days following. So now we're about to go into the long winter. What do we need to do? We need to have a day to gather it all in. Right? You know, after 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 a whole big event. All right, so what do? You want to get together with the team, and you want to term for it. Right? Well, you want to brainstorm. You want to assess what went well, what didn't go well, what can we do differently, what should we change. Right? You want to debrief afterwards to gather it all in. So that is what Shmini Atzeret is. How does that apply to, how are you, Shal? How does that apply to Shavuot? So let's see both in Hebrew and in English the Ramban. Ramban, Nachmanides, one of the classic commentators on the Torah, on the Gemara. V'tziva b'chag hamatzot. We were commanded the holiday of matzot, Shiva Yamim, 7 days, B'kedusha, Lifneim v'lacharayim. And we have holiness. We have Yom Tov, the first day of Pesach, and the last day of Pesach. And he counted 49 days after it. And he sanctified the 8th day, meaning the day immediately after those 7 weeks, Kishmini Shel Chag. Just like we have that 8th day of the holiday of Sukkot holiday. V'hayamim hasfurim beinatayim, and the days that are counted in between Pesach and Shavuot, kecholo shel moed. They are like the days of Chol HaMoed, like the days between day 1 and day 7 of Pesach. Bein Arishon v'Ashmini b'Chag, or on Sukkot, between the first day of Sukkot and the 8th day. Vuhu Yom Matan Torah. And that day, that 50th day, that's coming up this Saturday night, Sunday, is the day of the giving of the Torah. Sherem Boet Isho Agdola, that God showed his great fire. Udvarav Shamu Mitoch Ha'esh. And his words were heard from the midst of that fire. Ulakach Yikru'u Rabotenu. That's why our sages refer to Shavuot as Atzeret. Kihu kiyom shmini shel chag. It's like the 8th day of Sukkot. Shekara katuv came that the pasuk, the Torah calls it Atzeret. This is like the 8th day following Sukkot. This is the 8th day following that whole Pesach saga. And as we mentioned before, Pesach was our physical exodus, deliverance from Egypt. Shavuot, however, was our spiritual step up and exodus, deliverance from Egypt. And you can't have one without the other. And therefore we started counting immediately after Pesach. We started counting. The counting is showing that we're not there yet. We've taken an incredibly momentous step in the process, but we are not there yet. The Sefer HaChinuch is such a beautiful, beautiful Sefer, such a beautiful book. It goes through all 613 mitzvot and explains the essence behind them. And he writes, Lefi shekol ikaran shel Yisroel. The essence of the Jewish people of Israel, Eino Ella HaTorah, is only the Torah. That's what we've got. Without the land of Israel, we survived for thousands of years. Not to minimize the importance of the land of Israel to us, but we survived thousands of years without being in control of the land of Israel. When we take away Torah, then we just assimilate into oblivion.
Yeah.
And we're gone.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I have that in my family.
Umnei HaTorah nivru shamayim ve'eretz v'Yisrael. And it's because of the Torah that heaven, earth, and Israel were created. What does that mean? Because of the Torah, heaven and earth were created?
The Torah is more important than there.
Okay, but he's not just saying that it's more important.
It's the only reason for us being here.
Meaning what?
That we-
What does that mean? I hear that, Sharon. What do you mean?
We have
It's
to
the only
follow-
reason for us being here.
Because we have to abide and live by the Torah.
Okay, but let's,
To
okay,
keep the world going.
okay. From a Jewish point of view, or not from a Jewish point of view, from any point of view, if a person is believing in God, so the person needs to ask the question, why would God create the world? Was he bored? Why would God create the world? That's a basic question. If a person is believing in God, to ask the question, why would God create? When I say the world, that's a bit ambiguous. So why would God create?
The nature of creating, is to express and share what you know.
Okay,
So
Okay.
a creative person doesn't just not use their creative ability.
okay,
But Hashem
okay.
is not a person.
and,
Hashem is the ultimate creator. He's
Yeah.
sharing
okay.
what he
What'd you
knows.
say, Ilana?
Companionship, or not companionship, but for
Oh,
mitzvah,
Okay,
for
okay.
joy.
And we heard over here an act of love. So our understanding is that God is inherently a good being and therefore wants to give out good. If I am a good being, I want to share. I want to give out good. Okay. So is this world good?
Could
I
be.
don't know. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot. This world is one big mixture.
Good in the sense that everywhere you look, there's something miraculous.
Okay, granted, there's miraculous stuff all around us. But, if God created this world, meaning this world, to give out good, right, then I think we could say to him, there seems to be a lot of pain out here, right? So why would you mix in that component? So again, the Jewish understanding, as explained by Ramchal, other great Jewish thinkers and teachers, is that God wanted to give out good, and the epitome of good is God. So God wanted to create beings who have the potential to connect to Him.
But you can.
In order, right? If that's the case, so let's go straight to Olam Haba, straight to the world to come, straight to paradise. Why do we need all of this? And as he explains, in order to fully appreciate good, it's got to be something that a person has earned, a person feels that they deserve. Something that you get for nothing is not something that you value and can fully appreciate. Therefore, we are put into this world, into the world of Shamayim Va'aretz, heavens and earth, in order to live in what's called an olam. Olam is the Hebrew word for world, but the root of the word olam, ayin lamed mem, means concealment. So the Hebrew definition of the world is a place of concealment where God conceals himself. And we need to connect. And the mitzvot that you mentioned are means of connecting and building a kesher, a connection, a relationship which can then transform itself as we leave this physical world into a place where we have this clear, pleasurable connection with God.
How did the
So,
Goyim connect?
I'm sorry?
How did the Goyim?
That's not, so Torah includes Sheva Mitzvot, the Noahide Mitzvot. This is for mankind. This is for mankind. So when he says it's because of the Torah that Shemayim va'aretz, that heavens and earth were created, meaning it's in order for us to have a means of connecting to God to fulfill that purpose of creation. That is heavens and earth. That's the world. But that's not enough. You need Yisroel. Israel is the nation that accepted the Torah. Now, no one was born with the name Yisroel. Yaakov became Yisroel. And as Ramchal writes, others also could have accepted during that period of time that he calls the period of the roots, the period of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If there would have been others who would have accepted God and his dominion and to commit to this connection, there would have been a United States of Israel. There would have been many, many nations. But there weren't. There was Abraham. So you need to have the instructions, and you need to have those who are going to accept upon themselves and be the ones who are going to disseminate these instructions. That is perhaps what he means when he says, because of the Torah, heavens and earth and Israel were created. Johnny, I was pushing you up before.
So when you say that we would take for granted or not fully appreciate that connection or what we have and that full good, that kind of begs the question, because Hashem made our makeup that way, but could have had another option to make it a different way.
Okay, so that very question is a question that I asked Rav Yaakov Weinberg, my Rosh Yeshiva in Yisroel.
I mean, he could have
We heard the question, right? That's the very question I asked him. So create us in a way that we can appreciate, and then we don't need this whole world. And he explained to me very beautifully as follows. He didn't say this, but let me give this as an introduction. In the physical world, closeness is physical proximity, right? So I can take, for a moment, right, a highly sophisticated computer, and I could put it next to a piece of paper. These two are very different. This is worth about $700, $800. This is worth about 0.03 pennies, right? And right, they're close to one another. They're completely dissimilar, but they're close to one another. In the spiritual realm, when there is no space, so what does close mean?
Similarity.
Close means similarity. So if we're talking about it, and this is what he said to me, if we're talking about a closeness to Hashem, it must mean that we are God-like. Well, there is an inherent truth, emet, and that is, you don't get nothing for nothing. Something is earned, something is deserved, something is enjoyed. That is an inherent truth. Otherwise, it is inherently sheker, false. So you can't ask, let God make us inherently false in order to allow us to have that closeness to Him, and God is inherently emet, inherently true.
Okay.
That's how we explain that. Okay, let's go a little bit further. And this is the very, very main reason, the ikar, the reason and the source, shenigalu, that we were redeemed. V'yatzim Mitzrayim, and we were taken out of Egypt, Kadeshi Kabla Torah B'Sina V'Yikaimua, in order that we will receive the Torah on Sinai and fulfill it. As Hashem said to Moshe, V'zelecha ot kenuch shaticha, by the burning bush, This is the sign that I have sent you. When you take the nation out of Egypt, Tavdun, you will serve Elokim al Hahar Hazeh. On this very mountain. It was on Mount Sinai that Moshe encountered the burning bush. When they came, and since this is the case, Kihi called Ikaran Shel Yisroel. This is the very essence of Israel. Uba'avuran nigalu. For this reason we were redeemed. Va'alu, and we were brought up l'chol ha'gedula shel Orleh, to the great heights that we were brought up to. Nitztavinu limnot. We were commanded to start counting immediately after Pesach, the next day, ad yom netinat Torah, till the day of the giving of the Torah. La'arot b'nafshenu, to show in our souls, ha'chefetz hagadol, our tremendous desire, el hayom hanichbad l'lavenu, right, to this great, great day. Ke'eved yishav tzel, v'yimanet tamid matay yavo ha'et hanichsaf elav sheyitzei lecherut. Like a servant who's in the blazing sun and hoping for some shade and counting until the time they'll be able to go out free. Ki aminyan mar adam ki kol yishov v'chol chefzo la'gia el hazmanahu. The counting shows I'm all about getting to that point. And as we mentioned before, we don't count down, we count up. Counting down, at the end of the countdown, you've got nothing. 0!
Take off.
We take off, blast off, exactly. Okay. Right? Instead, what we do, we count up because we need to build up to that point. Now, this is referred to on the topic as the hidden holiday.
Right.
What do I mean by the hidden holiday? So let's go to the third source we have on this page, the Kli Yakar. The verse omits the fact that the Torah was given on Shavuot. Very, very interesting. V'ikravtem mincha chadasha la'Hashem. The verse says you shall offer a new offering of 2 loaves to Hashem. Doesn't mention, right? By Pesach, the Torah mentions, right? You shall celebrate Pesach. Why? Because this is the day that you left Egypt. And we should celebrate Sukkot. Why? Because this is the day, or to remember, not the day, but to remember that B'Sukkot Hoshavti B'nai Yisroel, you, the children of Israel, were in Sukkot when you traveled through the desert. Sukkot either meaning literally booths, or Sukkot meaning the sheltering wing of God's presence. But it doesn't say you should celebrate Shavuot because this is the day that you stood at Mount Sinai and received the Torah. Rather, it says you shall bring a new offering, mincha chadasha, of 2 loaves of bread, LaHashem. Siman lamatan Torah. This is the sign of Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. Ki ha-Torah tzricha liot chadasha etzel ha'adam b'chol yom ki'ilu hayom kibla mehar Sinai. The Torah must be new to a person each day, as if that's the day that they received it on Sinai. Umashlo nizkar b'Torah b'feirush. The Torah does not say explicitly, clearly, ki yom zeh, this is the day of Matan Torah. Shal Matan Torah lo ratza Hashem lahagvil yom yedua. God did not want to limit it to a specific day. A person needs to feel every day, this is the day I received it. And therefore our sages say, Divrei Torah needs to be something that's considered to be new, and not something old, been there, done that we start to dismiss. The And in fact, whenever a person studies Torah, there's always something else that one finds in it. And therefore, the day of its giving is not specified in the Torah, besides this hint of a mincha chadasha, of a new offering, to show that the Torah is this new offering each and every day. So had we, Pesach, we commemorate, we relive. We don't just commemorate, we re-experience through the Pesach Seder the Exodus from Egypt. But the Torah is not meant to be relegated to a particular day. Had we done that, we say, oh, this is the day that we're going to, let's all study Torah on this day. That's not what it's about. The Torah was meant to be transformative for us on a daily basis. That there is always something new. There is always a lesson with the challenges that I'm facing today, because every single day we face challenges, and some of them are somewhat recurring challenges, others are new and improved challenges that come at us. But in every situation we have the Torah as a guide as to how we deal with those. And therefore we're not going to point out this is the day of the giving the Torah. We'll say this is the day of a mincha chadasha, of a new offering, because this is something that always has its newness. And I'll be very honest with you. This takes work on our part. In other words, it's very easy with our Torah study to settle into a rut. And this is what I do. And a person needs to explore and find different aspects of Torah that give oneself that sense of freshness, excitement, newness. And we need to work on that. We need to make the effort toward that. Yes?
I find that sometimes reading Magid literature,
Yeah.
because it's taken from real life things.
Yeah.
Of
Every
Torah
person,
and
yeah. Look, reading stories about people, stories of greatness, that certainly is, everyone needs to see, right? And not the same thing is going to work for the same, right, for every person, and not the same thing work for a particular person at every point, right? We go through, we are constantly changing, and we need to look for that which keeps us fresh and invigorated.
And my other question is, in Shema, when we talk about the phylacteries, I'm blanking on the Hebrew, I don't know why.
Tefillin.
And then the commandment to remember Exodus. How come it
I don't want to go off, Janet. Let's stay with
how
this.
come it doesn't also emphasize remembering Sinai? I mean, it says, Mitzrayim, and then...
Okay, perhaps that's what he's saying over here. It was not meant to be a one-time experience.
Right, but we say Shema every day, so that's the whole point. Of why aren't we also supposed to...
But it's not important to remember Sinai, right? I don't want to remember Sinai. I want to live with the Torah every day. Yeah, Dov?
Okay, two things. So the offering of the two loaves, that seems to me like it could correspond to Luchot.
Okay, interesting.
One.
Okay.
And the second one was that Hashem as Melech said wants a kingdom of Kohanim, and how we can be Kohanim if we don't have a torch, we don't know how to do it.
Okay. Let's go to the bottom of the first side, the Peli Yoetz, about this idea of Atzeret. Atzeret Uchad Kadosh Ma'od. So Shavuot is Kadosh Ma'od, very holy. Asher Bo Kiddishanu Hashem Yitbarach B'Torah Mitzvotav, that God sanctified us with His Torah and Mitzvot. Ubachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, and chose us from amongst the nations Liot Lo La'am Segula, to be this treasured nation. V'ilav Hayom Adekad were it not for this day, Kistom Hayinu La'amora Diminu V'Kubot Shemayim V'Aretz Lo Nitkaimu. We would be like Sodom and Gomorrah. We would be like any other nation, even the lowliest of the nations. We turn the page. Right? And it's not possible not to rejoice. Ki tov lanu tovat haTorah v'mitzvot mikol tovot ha'olam hazeh u'mikol chayei ha'olam haba. Right? Torah and mitzvot, he writes, are better than all the good things of this world and the entire life of the next world. Wow. Right? Right? It gives us the perspective, and it gives us the means of enjoyment. There's a number of interesting teachings. There are 2 Torah-level brachot, blessings that we make. There are 2 blessings that the Torah speaks about. One of them everybody knows. What's that? V'achalta, v'savata, uveirachta. You eat, you got full, you bench. V'achalta, right? Birkat hamazon, grace after meals. The other is the blessing that we say before Torah study. Birkot HaTorah. So why is it that the blessing on food is mandated after we eat? The rabbis also added in blessings before we eat. But the Torah mandates blessings on food after we eat, and blessings on Torah study before we study. Why was one after and the other before? And a very beautiful answer that's given is that we always make the blessing when we are most full, most sated, and most appreciative. So when it comes to the physical world, after we've eaten, we're full. We've had enough. Keep eating more and more, you get sick. You can't look at it anymore. Right? I don't want to look at another Entenmann's Donuts. I had too many of them. I'm feeling sick already. So when it comes to the physical world and the physical pleasure, we are most sated afterwards. Whereas when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to Torah study, we learn a little bit and we want more. We want more, we want more. So where are we most sated? Before we start. Therefore the blessing is made beforehand. I have a little story. You mentioned some stories, Janet. The great sage Rabbi Aaron Kotler of blessed memory once delivered a lecture in which he remarked that a person who provides his funds for Torah study will enjoy the same reward in the next world as the Torah scholars themselves. Same reward. After his lecture, he was approached by a wealthy man who challenged him, Rabbi, why should I bother to exert myself to study the Torah? All I have to do is to make donations to Torah institutions, and I'll be assured immeasurable reward in the world to come, the same as those studying Torah. So I'll write my checks. Why should I bother myself to study Torah? Rav Kotler regarded the wealthy man with an expression of utter seriousness and responded, it's true that your portion of the world to come will be the same, but your life in this world will not. So you have to have it in order to fully appreciate and fully live and fully enjoy your life over here. Let's see from the Siftei Chaim, Rav Chaim Freelander. We'll go right to the English. This was faith based on prophetic, tangible vision. Right? Har Sinai was not that someone told me that they had a vision. Someone told me they went into a cave and heard a prophecy. Someone told me that they found these plates with a message written on them. But it was prophetic, tangible vision. Kol ha'am ro'im et ha'kolot. All the people, the verse says, saw the sounds. They all saw the voices. They all saw the sounds. What does that mean? Our sages explained they saw things that are normally only heard. Meaning, something which is heard is more distant conceptually from a person than something which is seen. Right? For us, what we see will always override that which we hear. Right? The example I like to give, if you hear someone talking outside and it sure sounded like Bill, and the person walks in, and it's not Bill, it's Joe. So what do you say? You say, hey, Joe, you sounded just like Bill. You don't say, hi, Bill, you look just like Joe. Right? What you see overrides that which you hear. What you see gives you that clarity. It sounded like Joe or Bill, and Joe walks in, you say, hey, you sounded like him. You don't say, oh, right, you look like him. In their prophecy, they saw the revelation of God to Moshe. So that which they heard, it was as if they saw it. They had the clarity of seeing it. They saw the revelation of God to Moshe without any barriers and impediments that will prevent them from seeing this revelation. Therefore, the Torah testifies that also in you, the Gam B'cha, also in you, Moshe, Yaminu Lo'olam, they will believe forever. Someone who has seen the revelation of God in this tangible way has eternal faith. Right? From Aish.com, the people who stood at Mount Sinai perceived the soul world with absolute clarity, while the physical world receded into the remote distance, generally occupied by spiritual matters. Right? How do we live our lives? We're living in a physical world, we deal with all the physical things, and the spiritual things are sort of out in this hazy fog distance. But here was the opposite. They saw the soul world with absolute clarity, and the physical world went into this haze. You know, we're taking good pictures, so you focus in, and everything else becomes blurry, specifically in order that the picture that you're taking will stand out. Right? So in our world, our focus is on the physicality, and everything else is in this hazy background. There, they shifted their focus, and the spiritual world was right there in absolute clarity, and everything else was in a haze. A meeting between the congregation of Israel and God taking place at this high level of spirituality clearly exposed the spiritual connection that exists between all Jews and the connection between God and Israel. It is not by accident when Moshe retells the events of Mount Sinai in Devarim, he concludes with the classical statement of Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Right? And it's fascinating. That is the status that we have in Olam Haba. That it's all the spirituality. Everything else is in this hazy distance. And we say Shabbat is meant to be Me'ein Olam Haba. Shabbat is meant to be a taste of the world to come. Because what are we supposed to do on Shabbat? Leave the politics, leave the sports, leave the business, leave the credit cards, leave all that behind. Let that go out of focus, and we focus on who I am, what I'm about, what my mission is. Something that I saw very beautifully. We're called human beings, not human doings. It's not what we do, it's human beings. And we need to be focusing on our beings, who we are, what we are about, as opposed to all the focus on what we do. So that's what happened then. And let's go now to Rav Dessler, the last two of the sources. Each Shavuot, we spiritually arrive at the same point of sanctity experienced by our forefathers at Mount Sinai, right? The Jewish calendar, it's not a point and a straight line going out. It is this cycle that we go through. And if this was available on the 6th of Sivan, then we are returning to that point. It is, once again, in a real sense, Zman Matan Toratenu. This is the time of the giving of our Torah, and we are invited to accept it anew, as we did 3,300 plus years ago. On Shavuot, we have to work in order to receive the Torah. We have to struggle to acquire it in our hearts. We have to appreciate its truths as unchangeable verities. The nation still harbored lingering doubts. Only when they heard God's voice at Sinai was doubt replaced by absolute certainty. So too, when we learn Torah today, and especially Shavuot time, can we, if we wish, still hear that same voice. We can appreciate the teaching of our sages Bayom Hazeh. It doesn't say on that day, Ba'u, they came to the Midbar of Sinai. That's what it should have said, on that day. It says Bayom Hazeh, on this day, the verse says. It would have been more fitting for the verse to state on that day. Why write on this day? Rather, to teach that the words of Torah should be new to you, as if they had been given today. In practice, whenever one studies Torah in the appropriate manner, he receives inspiration from God. A quote that I've said a number of times. I said it on Shabbos last week. I said it in a number of classes this week. We heard from a wonderful woman, Mrs. Rena Quint, quoting her husband, Rabbi Emmanuel Quint of blessed memory. Prayer, tefillah, is where we speak to God. Torah study, is where God speaks to us. In practice, whenever one studies Torah in the appropriate manner, he receives inspiration from God, similar to the atmosphere which prevailed at Sinai. For this reason, the Torah states, on this day, just like the day that came to the desert of Sinai, so too, on this day, on each and every day, it is available to us, but we need to open up our ears and our hearts and our receptivity to it. You know, the Chavetz Chaim said very beautifully that all of the advances in technology that we have, they're all there to open up our eyes to the truth of many Torah teachings which seem so strange. Right? There's a Torah teaching, a Mishnah, that every day the voice of Sinai comes out. A voice, God's words come out from Sinai every day. Have you heard it? Have you heard it? I don't hear it so well. Along comes radio. Radio waves. Right? Wi-Fi. Right? Right now, right? In the air, right here. Turn on a radio, you've got 100 stations. Where is it getting it from? It's being broadcast. It's being broadcast. We don't hear it. We don't hear it. There needs to be certain instruments in order to hear it. With my Wi-Fi, I could access Wikipedia and all the information that the world does not need to know at my fingertips. It's right here. It's right here. It's here. It's in the air. It's in the Wi-Fi. But we don't hear it. We don't sense it. Har Sinai, that message, is here. It's in the air. It's being broadcast every day. And that's something that without a radio and without our devices, if we learn and push ourselves to sensitize ourselves to it, we can hear those messages and apply them to our everyday. I wish you all a Chag Sameach, a good Yom Tov. Yes, Chaya Rivka.
I just want to be sure that I'm understanding something. Hashem created the world, created for us, because He's a giver, He's a He, I'm using the word He, is a creative entity, and He wanted to share His knowledge.
Himself.
He wanted to share Himself. But He also created how it will be received by us. So to me, that is the most difficult, because we're not God. How we receive is very different than how God gives.
Okay.
So, but He already anticipates how we will receive it.
I mean, I would say that we have the free will decisions as to how we will receive, if we will receive, how we will receive, what we will do with it, and that we have to own.
But we can never receive. Giving is never. This can never be equal to receiving.
Correct. We
But
can never
giving is from
get
Hashem.
all that God has to offer.
No.
We can get as much as we can. And each person is different. But even the greatest of people are certainly limited in that.
Correct.
Right,
And so it also could be distorted.
It could be.
Could be distorted.
We have those choices.
But I thought that was very important, that
Yeah.
God already planned the receiving of it.
The ability to receive it,
The
that we're,
ability to receive.
but we have to,
what he's giving.
we have to own how and what we do with that.
Shavuot is like Kedushin, we're the Kala, and Hashem is the Kazan, or the, how do you say? Kazan, right?
Okay.
And the Torah is the Ketubah.
Okay.
That's
Nice
very
idea,
cool,
Dov.
though. Thank you,
Right?
Cheryl, for the cakes.
Oh, you
Oh.
brought cake?
Oh.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Cheryl. I didn't
Sure.
have